All right, so let's now bring in our reporter Vanessa Poonah, of course, who's been monitoring developments in this particular case. Vanessa, of course, interesting developments in court today, including, of course, that decision by the accused not to testify and call witnesses. The judge at pains there to explain the process, with those accused. So speak to us then about the way forward now ahead of the closing arguments we are expecting to continue next week.
Yes, indeed. And I think what I transpired in court today will leave quite a few people disappointed. But if one looks at the defense, it's probably, from their point of view, that this they could have done at this stage to close the case without calling the witnesses, or rather the accused as well as witnesses. Because we remember that the onus is on
the state to prove its case against the three accused in this matter. So because both the state as well as the defense have now closed their case, what will happen is that next Tuesday, the matter will go ahead in the Western Cape High Court sitting in Saldanha Bay, and that's where we expect the state to spend more time in closing arguments than the defense, of course, because they've led witnesses in this matter. And what will happen then is that the judge had indicated that he would like to, by next Friday, be in the position where he can actually deliver judgment on this case. And no reason was given earlier by the judge for the decision not to grant the Section 174 application. That, of course, according to the Criminal Procedures Act, is when at the end of the state's case, if the defense wants to bring such an application, they may. And then the court would have to decide whether or not to grant that discharge, meaning that a not guilty finding would then be proffered against the three accused. In this case, the judge refused to grant that application. And of course, immediately after that, the defense counsel then decided that they would close their case.
Very quickly, Vanessa, because now your sound is a little bit better. Just talk to us about then just the demeanor of the accused, because we saw, of course, Kelly Smith just getting a little bit emotional there. The judge repeating himself in terms of just explaining the process in as far as the court case is concerned. There was a little bit of an adjournment even, during this, the developments in the proceedings today.
Yes, let me start with Kelly Smith and her demeanor. So what we saw this morning, very briefly, were videos shown of Kelly Smith, as well as a video of Stefano van Ryn being interviewed by Gayton McKenzie, the now Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, at the time involved, he was involved in the search. And of course, when these videos were playing, specifically the one where he was speaking to Kelly Smith, she did come across as being very emotional. She sat with her head in her hands, and at times we could see her wiping tears from her eyes. She got specifically emotional during that video that was played. And then also, I've mentioned earlier a video where Stefano van Ryn was then answering questions posed to him by Gayton McKenzie. So, of course, the other two accused were not appearing very emotional at all, but then being very clear that they would indeed opt to exercise their constitutional right, their rights to not testify, and also not to call witnesses of their own in this case against them.
Vanessa, thank you so much for that. Of course, Vanessa Poonah is joining us live there from Cape Town, and following this case, closing arguments in the Joshlin Smith kidnapping and human trafficking case are then expected to commence in the Western Cape High Court next Tuesday.